Inspiration in D&D is one of those things where you're either hoard it and wait for the perfect moment only just not to use it, or you end up forgetting you even had it in the first place. In this video, I'm going to show you 3 of my favorite ways how to turn inspiration into a fun game mechanic that your players will actually enjoy. Before we get started, welcome to my channel. Like, subscribe if you find this video helpful, and stick around for any DM tips and inspiration for your games. Now let's get started. The first one I call is Share the Wealth because it's the most simple and straightforward out of all the methods, but also it requires very little prep on the DM side. It involves the DM granting the player inspiration like normal, but with a twist. Maybe the player decides to do something really cool and dive off the chandelier, landing onto the thieves, preventing their escape. But here's where it gets interesting. When you give them the point of inspiration, tell them you can either take this point of inspiration or you can pass it along to someone who doesn't have one. And by using this small tweak, not only you encourage them to take more risks, just so they can earn more inspiration points, but also you allow them to really share it with their party members, deepening their bond and their teamwork, but also allowing people to really find new opportunities to work together. In my games, I found that this small tweak really helped new players get more immersed in the story of the game and allow them to take more risks that they normally wouldn't have. So next time you see players holding on to inspiration, give this small tweak a try, and you'll see that the more you give them inspiration, that the more they end up using it. For tip number 2, I call this one the highs and lows. It's very simple, but it requires a little more record keeping on the DM side. If they roll a natural 20, they get to keep an inspiration point. No questions asked. But if they roll a natural 1, then the DM gets an inspiration point. The DM can hold as many inspiration points as there are players. So if you have 4 players, that means the DM can hold 4 inspiration points. And they can use that no matter skill check, enemy roll, very similar how the players can use it. So I've seen other tabletop games and DMs use very similar methods, but involving coins, and which is fine. And if you prefer that tweak, definitely feel free. It would work the same way like I described, but instead of granting a player inspiration point, they would already have a coin at their table. And the player can use that coin as an inspiration, and it would flip going back to the DM. So as they spend, it would go back to the DM, and the DM spends, it goes back to them. And the great thing about this tweak is that you can spend these points whenever you like. So if you want to use it for an ability check, if you want to use it for an attack roll, you and your players have the opportunity to do so. This can make roleplay feel a bit more intense, more engaged, make your combat really have those cinematic moments where everything depends on a single outcome of a dice roll. So moving on to tip number 3, the secret move. This method is more intense on the DM prep side, but it's specifically tailored to each of your players. So with fair warning, if you decide to use this, do so intentionally. So for this method, we're focusing on helping the player use their earned inspiration points like normal, like they did something cool, or if they made you laugh or rolled a natural 20, you can give them inspiration point. And you're going to help them take the inspiration point and convert that into a special move or ability that they have earned in the game. Not only does this really help turn the tide of certain combat situations or dramatic situations in the game, but it makes your characters' rewards feel more impactful and special when they earn them. I found that players really enjoy this particular method because it is a reward that becomes forever linked to their character. It's something that they earned. It's something that's linked to their backstory. It's a feat that they accomplish in the world of your game. And when they use it, it always reminds them of that moment. Perhaps you find a monk in your party and they realize that their master had died. And they visit the temple only to discover that their master was hoarding secret scrolls. And when they get there, the gates are blown open. There is debris and fire everywhere. There is a sign of great struggle that happened here. And they go into their teacher's chambers to find that the teacher is not there. There are scrolls and there are documents scattered everywhere. But the monk catches a glimpse of a safe tucked away underneath the desk. They move the desk only to find a scroll of a secret technique. A technique they can use by spending an inspiration point. And this hidden scroll of this secret technique that they have can only be used when the player feels inspired during battle. So not only do you set a conditional use for that particular technique, perhaps as once per day, and then when they have inspiration, they can use it. And that could be sometimes be the difference between them going down or them having some really cool moments in game. I actually had an encounter where one of my players in a previous campaign, they were a cleric and they were looking for guidance. They saw signs of a divine nature and they decided to take a journey out into the desert. When they arrive at the temple, they notice that there are cultists here. As they enter the temple, they find that there is a sealed god inside there. After the cleric fights off the cultists and clears the temple, the god gives the cleric an opportunity to become one of their first followers. The cleric accepts, and with that, the god grants the cleric a animated shield, a shield that is sentient, that can talk, that can serve as a connection between them and the god. And during moments of clarity, during moments of creativity, they're able to tap into the essence of this god to create chaos on the battlefield. And what happened was, it was very easy to make. I basically took an animated shield and slapped a random generator, kind of like what you would see with a wild magic table. And so when the player used inspiration, the animated shield would then choose one of the effects that I custom made to create weird effects on the battlefield. And it became the player's favorite item shortly after. When one encounter, they actually turned a bunch of enemies in a bar into a flock of ducks. So this player came in our campaign about midway through, and having this device to able to build this custom item for her was really helpful because it helped her get really involved in the story, have her own moment where she can shine, but also have a useful item that was able to create really fun moments for the rest of the party. And that was something that was really exciting about this method. And just like that, we have 3 different methods that you can use inspiration to really spice up your games. I've definitely used these methods as a combination, so definitely feel free to pick and choose which one you want or mix them together. If you found this really helpful, like, subscribe, and follow me for more. And until next time, happy gaming.